Good morning and welcome to the little apartment on the prairie. Today I am making peach vanilla jam and I'm going to show you how I make it. I'll put the recipe down in the description so you don't have to try and write it down if you're interested while I'm talking. And the recipe can also be found in the Little Apartment on the Prairie cookbook, which I'll put a link to where you can get that down in the description too. There's some other jelly recipes, as well as a lot of breads and cookies and all kinds of good recipes in there. So the first thing you're going to want, of course, is a bunch of peaches. And I have a big bowl of chopped up peaches. You want to chop them up into pretty small pieces. Sassy, you're going to get off the stove, little girl. Get your cat off the stove. That would be a good place to start. Alright, so you're going to start with 7 cups of peaches. These are so good. They smell really good too. 2, 3, 4. I'll get this whole bowl. 5, 6, 7. Almost this whole bowl. Oh, they're really good. My whole kitchen smells like peaches, you guys. Alright, so 7 cups of peaches. Get that bowl out of the way. Okay, let's just see the stove here. 7 cups of peaches. You want a big pot because when this starts to cook, it's going to boil up and you don't want it to boil over and make a big mess on your stove. I've done that before. You don't want to do it. So then you're going to put a 1/4 cup of lemon juice in there. And it's not going to make it taste lemony when the jam is done, but it's going to make it a little bit more acidic, which makes it safer to can it in a water bath, which is how I'm going to can it. Alright, 1/4 cup of lemon juice. And I'm going to use, I like this Hoosier Hill Farm pectin. You can get pectin in boxes that are like, you know, single serving kind of boxes. I just buy a big bag because I make a lot of jam and jelly. I'm going to put a 1/4 cup of that in there. I'm going to try and just kind of sprinkle it around so I don't get it all in one big lump. And then I'm going to stir a whole lot until this starts to boil. And then I'm going to put sugar in it. And I'm going to put vanilla in it. Don't forget the vanilla. Once I forgot the vanilla and it was so disappointing. Make peach vanilla jam and forget the vanilla. I mean, it was good peach jam, but it was really disappointing. I'm going to stir this just a little bit. Okay. My kitchen's a mess. I went camping last week and then I came home and then I got these peaches and I haven't had time to like do anything but peel peaches the last many days. I got my jars and the big in the canner, waiting for it to boil to get my jars really hot. I'm going to put a tablespoon of vanilla extract in there. And you want to use real vanilla extract. Do not use, like, vanilla flavoring. It's just not going to be the same. One of these days I'm going to make my own vanilla extract. Which is easy to do, I believe. But I just haven't ever done it yet. Okay. So I'm going to stir this and I'm going to wait until it boils and I want the peaches to get really soft. When you cut up peaches to make jam, you want to like dice them up really small unless you want to run it through a food processor because you don't want like you want pieces of actual fruit in your jam, but you don't want it to be big chunks of, you know, like a slice of peach in your jam. Jam, I think, is easier to make than jelly because you don't have to worry as much about if it sets or if it gels. Sassy, I know you're very interested in jelly, but you're going to burn your little toes or your little nose or something, so get down. And this is starting to simmer a little bit, but I want to get it thick, and the peach is really soft and want it to be boiling really good. See if you can see what this looks like. See that? Alright, so then you're going to put sugar in it, and the special thing about this recipe is that it has 4 cups of sugar, but it's 2 cups of white sugar and 2 cups of brown sugar. And the brown sugar, along with the vanilla, gives it a really rich, just a unique taste. So I'm going to do 2 cups of white sugar. And I know it sounds like a lot of sugar, you guys. Jam and jelly has a lot of sugar. I mean, there's such a thing as like low sugar jam recipes, but most recipes for jelly and jam have a ton of sugar. It's part of what helps it get that jelly-like consistency, and it's also part of what helps preserve it and makes it shelf stable. 1 cup of brown sugar. 2 cups of brown sugar. So, you got a lot of sugar. If you're supposed to be eating, you know, if you're diabetic or something, you don't want to eat a lot of this. But it is really good. Now I'm going to stir it till all the sugar dissolves. And scrape the sides of the pot because the sugar is going to like stick to the sides some. Sassy, you do not need to come over here, little kitten. She's trying to come back. I see her. What is... That's just a dark piece of peel or something. I don't want that in there. It doesn't look good. Alright. I got my jar lifter. I think, I don't know where my jar lifter... Oh, here it is. Alright. And stuff's falling out of the cupboard on my head. Okay. You want one of these nifty little jar lifter things if you're going to can stuff. It lifts the stuff out of the hot water without, you know, burning yourself. And you can get one on Amazon, and they're really cheap. I don't know. When I bought this one, it was like a few dollars. It might be a couple dollars more now, but it's still really cheap. You can try and reach in there with a pair of tongs or something and get jars out, but you're likely to drop jars. You're likely to burn yourself. It's just better to get the jar lifter. Says me, who tries to do everything really cheap. So, if I think I need the piece of equipment, I probably really need it. These jars are going to be hot. They're coming out of boiling water. I have the lids. I don't boil the lids anymore. I just put them in hot water. They're brand new lids. So I just put them in hot water so they'll seal better. But I don't boil them. They used to tell you to boil the lids. Sassy, you do not need to come back here, little girl. One more jar. There we go. Alright, this is starting to smell really good. The other thing that you're going to really be glad if you have is a funnel, because it keeps you from making such a big mess when you fill the jars. You're going to want to have some towels handy so you don't dribble jam on your stove and make a big mess. And I'm going to grab a clean washcloth, because before you put the lids on, you want to wipe the rims of the jars, because if you have any jam on the lid of your jar, it's going to make it hard for your lid to stick. Alright, this was almost starting to burn to the bottom. That's no good. You go too long without stirring it, it'll burn on the bottom. You don't want it to do that. So I'm just going to stir this a little bit more. Let it get really thick. It's going to bubble. I'm going to put this jar over here where y'all can see it. You're going to want a ladle to fill your jars. That's much easier with the funnel. Otherwise, I'd be making a big, huge mess. You want to fill it almost to the top of the jar. If you buy a funnel that's meant for canning, it actually has a little line in there, like right here, that tells you where to fill it to. You can see it's filled to like right about here. Stir this. I'm going to turn this heat down just a little bit, but I want to keep it simmering. Wipe the tops off. Alright, so you're just going to fill all your jars, and then we'll stick them in the canner. Now, when you're putting your lids on, they tell you to make them fingertip tight. I don't know why they call it that, but I'll tell you what it means. It means you want it tight enough that air can escape, but you don't want it so tight that you want it tight enough that the lid stays on, but not so tight that air cannot escape. So when you put your lid on, and I have my jar sitting on a towel, you just twist it until the jar itself starts to turn. So it's as tight as you can. See, I'm not holding on to the jar. It's just as tight as it goes, like that. And that'll be the right amount of tight. And they call that fingertip tight for reasons I do not know. Then you put it in your big pot of boiling water, known as a water bath canner. Let's see if I can get an 1/8 jar in here. This is all that will fit in here. Alright, and I'm going to put a lid on that, and we're going to water bath it, which just means boil at the pot of boiling water for 10 minutes. And then we'll come back and see what it looks like. Alright, so here's what I've got done so far. I've done a couple batches now of the peach vanilla jam. I'll pick it up so you can see it better in the light. It's a pretty color. It's still warm. This one just came out of the canner. So that's it. That's my peach vanilla jam. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it or found it useful, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Let me know what you're canning these days.